Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the information so you don't have to, giving you what you need to know. Today, we're tackling a big one for anyone thinking about backup power. Should you get an inverter or a generator?
Right. It's a common question, but honestly, they're almost apples and oranges. Both give you electricity when the grid's down, sure, but how they do it, well, that's completely different. Our goal today is really to dig into those differences, the tech, the power quality, the actual cost over time, so you can figure out what truly fits your needs and, doesn't break the bank.
Exactly, because whether it's a blackout at home or you're out camping, you need power. But, like you said, the how matters. It impacts everything from whether your fancy laptop is safe to how long you can actually keep things running. Okay, so let's dive into the basics first. The core mechanics. What actually is a generator versus an inverter?
Let's start with the generator. Think of it like a mini power plant you can own. It works by converting mechanical energy into electricity. You've got an engine inside, usually runs on gasoline, maybe diesel or propane, spinning an alternator. That spinning action, that's what creates the electricity through electromagnetic induction.
So it makes power on the spot as long as you keep feeding it fuel.
Precisely. It's a production unit. Now, the inverter, totally different approach. It doesn't make power itself. It's an electronic device. Its whole job is to take direct current DC power, usually from batteries.
Which have to be charged somehow, right?
Yeah.
Like from solar panels or the grid.
Exactly. Solar, the grid, your car, even another generator sometimes. It takes that stored DC power from the batteries and converts it into the alternating current, the AC power, that your house uses. So the inverter is the converter, but the batteries, they're the energy storage.
Okay, production versus conversion. That's clear. But you mentioned power quality earlier. Our sources really hammered this point about sine waves. What's that about?
Yes, this is super important, especially now with all our sensitive electronics. The power from your wall outlet, that's what we call a pure sine wave. It's smooth, consistent, predictable. Good quality inverters, especially modern ones, use clever electronics, things like pulse width modulation or PWM, to mimic that pure sine wave very, very closely.
And why should my computer or my smart TV care about a smooth wave?
Well, a lot of older or cheaper generators don't produce that pure sine wave. They might create something called a modified sine wave or even a square wave. It's kind of choppy, electronically noisy power.
Okay.
Your basic work light, it probably won't notice. But sensitive stuff. Laptops, variable speed drills, CPAP machines, fancy audio gear. That dirty power can make them run hot, inefficiently, maybe even damage them over time. So for anything digital or complex, that clean inverter power is often pretty essential.
Gotcha. That really puts the quality thing into perspective. Okay, let's talk raw power then. Capacity. This is traditionally where generators shine, right? If I need to run like my whole house air conditioner or big power tools.
Yeah, this is the generator's home turf, no question. They're built for high output, sustained output, portable ones. You can easily find models pushing 5,000, 10,000 watts or more. Standby units for whole houses can go way beyond 20,000 watts.
Wow.
And the key thing is runtime. As long as you have fuel, they can basically run indefinitely, handling those big power-hungry appliances without breaking a sweat.
So with that kind of power difference, are inverter systems just for, charging phones and running a few lights?
Not entirely, but their capacity is limited. It comes down to two things: the size of your battery bank and what the inverter unit itself can handle in terms of current. Typical home setups might range from maybe 400 watts on the small end up to, say, 3,000, maybe 5,000 watts for bigger systems.
Okay.
And the runtime, well, it's totally finite. It depends purely on how much battery capacity you have and how much power you're drawing. You might power your fridge and some lights for a couple of days, but if you try running an electric stove off it, you might only get like half an hour.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, let's switch gears to logistics. This is where things get really practical for everyday use, starting with noise. Oh man, the noise.
Yeah, the generator noise, it's significant. We're talking 60, 70, even 80 decibels or more. That's like having a lawnmower running right outside your window.
Or your neighbor's window.
Exactly. In a quiet neighborhood, during a blackout when everything else is silent, it's incredibly disruptive. Sometimes it even violates local NERS rules.
But the inverter, completely different story.
Night and day. Inverters are basically silent. They're electronic. No engine, no combustion. The only sound you might hear is a very faint hum from cooling fans if it's working hard. We're talking like under 40 decibels. Often you wouldn't even know it's on.
That's huge for usability, especially in residential areas or camping.
Absolutely. For many people, the silence alone makes the inverter the winner.
Okay, noise is a big one.
What?
Let's talk money now specifically, the ongoing costs,
Yeah.
fuel versus, well, what are the ongoing costs for an inverter?
Right, the total cost of ownership. With generators, it's all about the fuel. They can be pretty thirsty. A rough estimate, maybe 3/4 of a gallon of gasoline per hour for every 1,000 watts you're drawing.
So run a 5,000-watt generator for, say, 10 hours during an outage. That adds up fast.
It really does, especially if gas prices are high or outages are long. It's a very direct, immediate operational cost. Plus, you have to safely store that fuel.
Okay, and the inverter side. No fuel, obviously.
Correct. No direct fuel costs. The main cost is the electricity you use to charge the batteries in the first place, which could be cheap grid power or potentially free if you have solar. The big recurring cost is eventual battery replacement. Depending on the battery type and how you use them, you might need new ones every, say, 5 to 8 years, maybe longer for some chemistries.
So it's more of a big upfront cost and then periodic replacement versus constant fuel bills.
Exactly. If you pair it with solar, the ongoing energy cost can be almost zero after that initial investment. You're trading fuel costs for capital costs.
And what about keeping them running? Maintenance. I imagine the generator needs more upkeep.
Oh, definitely. It's an engine, right? It needs what any engine needs.
Yeah.
Oil changes, new spark plugs, filter checks, making sure the fuel doesn't go bad, and gum up the carburetor, especially if it sits unused for months.
Which they often do.
They often do. And if you don't maintain it properly, it might not start when you actually need it. It requires that mechanical TLC.
Underwater.
Almost zero maintenance. Keep the battery terminals clean, make sure it has good airflow so it doesn't overheat, and that's pretty much it. It's solid-state electronics, way less hassle. Now, thinking about where you put these things, safety and environment come into play big time.
Right. You absolutely cannot run a generator indoors. Carbon monoxide. Deadly serious.
Non-negotiable rule. Generators must be outside, well away from windows, doors, vents. Portable ones are easy to set up in that sense, but the big standby units. They need proper professional installation fuel lines, run safely, transfer switches installed to connect to your house panel. It's a whole process.
But the inverter, since it's just electronics and batteries, no fumes. It can go inside.
Yeah. Garage, basement, utility closet. Much more flexible placement, solves the noise issue too, obviously. And environmentally, generators burn fossil fuels, producing emissions directly. Inverters themselves produce zero emissions during operation. Their environmental impact really depends on how you charge the batteries. Charge them with solar. You've got a very green backup power solution.
Okay, last comparison point. Reliability and lifespan. How do they stack up there?
It's a different kind of reliability. Generators depend on mechanical reliability. Will the engine start, especially in the cold? Will the mechanical parts hold up? They wear out over time.
Makes sense.
Inverters rely on electronic reliability, which is generally very high once installed, but their Achilles heel is the batteries. The system is only as reliable as its battery bank, and battery capacity degrades over time. The runtime will slowly decrease as they age. So it's less about will it start and more about how much charge does it still hold.
Okay, so we've covered mechanics, power, noise, cost, maintenance, placement, reliability.
Yeah.
A lot to unpack. Let's try to synthesize this for the listener. How do you actually choose?
All right, boil it down. You probably lean towards a generator if your absolute top priority is getting the most power output for your dollar, especially for running really big things like central air or well pumps. Or if you need power for potentially very long, indefinite periods and you're okay with the noise, the maintenance, and buying fuel, it's the brute force solution for major power needs.
Okay, and you choose an inverter system if?
You'd go for the inverter if quiet operation is critical, maybe you have neighbors close by, or just value peace and quiet. If you absolutely need that clean, pure sine wave power for sensitive electronics, if you want minimal maintenance hassle. Or importantly, if you're thinking long-term about integrating with solar power or other renewables for more energy independence and lower environmental impact, it's more about convenience, quality, and sustainability.
You know, something that came up a lot in our sources was the idea of not choosing one or the other, but using both. The hybrid approach.
Ah, yes. That's actually a really smart strategy for a lot of people. It kind of gives you the best of both worlds and minimizes the downsides of each.
How does that work practically?
Well, you'd use the inverter system with its batteries as your main everyday backup. It runs your essential stuff quietly, lights, fridge, internet, maybe the TV. Silent, clean power for most situations.
Right.
Then you keep a generator, maybe a smaller, portable one in reserve. You only fire it up for specific tasks. Maybe you need to run a big power tool for an hour. Or, more strategically, if the power outage lasts for days and your batteries are getting low, you run the generator for just a few hours specifically to recharge the inverter's batteries quickly.
So instead of the generator running constantly, making noise and burning fuel just to keep the lights on, you use it in short, intense bursts just to top off the battery bank. Then you shut it off and go back to silent inverter power.
Exactly. You get the quiet, clean power most of the time, but you have the generator's raw power available to quickly recharge when needed for those really extended outages. It's efficient. You manage the fuel use and noise much better. It really leverages the strengths of both technologies.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so to wrap it up, generators give you the heavy lifting, big power, long runtime, but noisy, need fuel and care. Inverters offer the finesse, silent, clean power, low maintenance, great with solar, but limited by battery capacity.
Precisely. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on as you decide, what are you really investing in? Is it just temporary power for an emergency where the loudest, most powerful option might seem best? Or are you looking for a longer-term solution for energy security, quiet convenience, and maybe even a step towards sustainability, even if the upfront cost for batteries feels higher? Your answer to that really points towards the right choice for you.